In the last video, 7M4, lesson 1 and 2, part A, we learned about percents. We learned how to calculate percents and parts and wholes and convert equations like what is 4% of 22, 16 is 90% of what number. We learned how to do these types of problems. In this video, we're going to take that to the next step. We're going to do a few word problems, and we're going to learn a structure that's going to make us very successful at solving these percentage word problems. So let's switch over to our scratch pad and get going. So here's where we left our last lesson. Let's make a new pad here, and we'll see where we go. We are going to make what color? Let's use blue. This is 7M4 lesson 1, 2 part B percents. We're going to take it to next level. Next level. All right. Get ready for the ride. You know what? We didn't do any happy cats on the last. I'm sorry about that. We were very successful, and we missed happy cat. So we're just going to bring him back just to start. We'll see a few happy cats this lesson. Okay, let's switch back over to our pencil. And what we're going to do is we're going to learn about this equation. And remember, we learned how to solve what is 20%, we did these types of problems. What is 10% of 50? We did that type of problem. But in this lesson, we're going to learn, and we're going to use a model that's very similar, and we're going to say, well, the part equals the percent, times the whole. And this is going to be, again, as a decimal. The part is a percent as a decimal times the whole. So let's look at this and let's see what we mean by this. So I have a basket of apples. I have a basket of 5 apples. Joe takes out 2 apples. What percent did Joe take out? Now, this one, you may even be able to do this in your head, but I'm keeping the numbers easy so that we can look at the model and it will work for harder numbers. So don't shortcut this guy. We're going to do it using our part equals percent times whole equation. Well, let's look at this. What is it? First of all, you can identify what it is we know or don't know. I like this to say, in this equation right here, I say, well, what percent is what we don't know? Because we say, what percent did Joe take out? We don't know what percent. So that's this piece here, right? That's this part. So we have this. Well, let me just write it again. Part equals percent as decimal times whole. And we don't know this piece, so we're going to say that's X. The percent we don't know. So that's times the whole. Now, what is the whole here? The whole is the basket of 5 apples. And Joe just takes out a part. He takes out 2. So now we have this equation, 2 equals 5x, and we can just solve for x. And we're done. We're done. So let's say 2 equals 5x, and we know why we can do that. Multiplication is commutative. To solve this, we divide both sides by 5. And you can take out your calculator and say, well, that's 0.4 equals x. So this is our percent as a decimal. we have to take 0.4 and we have to convert it to a percent. Now we do that by moving this thing to the right. Well, I can only move it 1 to the right, but as we all know, we can add zeros behind the decimal like this. And we just move it 2 to the right and we get 40%. So 0.4 equals 40%, and that's our answer. So Joe took out 40% of the apples. Okay, so let's look at one that's slightly different. We'll erase this guy. And it's going to be maybe a little trickier. I don't know. Actually, it's not going to be any trickier. Everything's just going to use the same old formula, and we're going to make it work. So here we go. Steph Curry. Steph Curry scored 40% of the total points in the game. He scored 46 points. So that's just, is that all of the points or is that just part of the points? Or, you know, so how many points did the Warriors score? So Steph is he's just a part of the team. He scored 46 points. He scored 46 points, and that's 40%. So let's use our equation here and see what we can come up with. So we get part equals percent as a decimal. And I'm going to quit writing as a decimal. We're just going to have to remember that we need to convert that times the whole. Well, is the whole the Warriors score or Steph Curry's score? Well, think about that. And the answer you should come to is that Steph Curry is just a part of the team. This 46 is just part of the score. It's not the whole score, it's part. And that's 40%, so that's 0.4. The percent as a decimal times the whole, which is x. So 46 equals 0.4 times x. So the way that we find x is we got to divide by 0.4. Divide by 0.4. And you type in your calculator, 46 divided by 0.4, and hopefully you came out with x equals 115 points for the Warriors. X. So you should get pretty familiar with how to do these types of problems. Part equals percent times whole is a very standard formula. But now what we're going to do is we're going to look at a more, I'm going to take this a little bit to the next level, and I want to make sure that you can solve any and all types of these problems using a model that we're going to need to, that we'll be using on a regular basis. And that is this model. We're going to draw a picture that looks like this. We're going to have the numbers on top, and we're going to have the percents on the bottom. And it's going to look like this. So the total number is going to be the whole and then it's going to be made up of two parts. And these parts are going to have different names and different problems. And connected to that, we're going to have a percent. And it's going to be part 1%. And that's going to connect directly to this. And over here, we're going to have the part 2%. And that's going to connect to here. And we're going to get a part equals percent times whole for both of these. And the percent will add up to 100%. So this is the thing that we know. The percentages always add to 100, but these things in part 1 and part 2 will always add to the whole, but it won't necessarily be 100. So let's just watch how this works. Let's watch how this works. So the way we're going to ask this question, we'll go to blue. I want to save $75. What is 60% of my goal? And when I save 60%, how much do I have left to save? So that's my question. And now I want to solve that, and I'm going to use this structure over here. So watch what I do. We're going to make that exact same thing. We're going to use this a lot. And it doesn't matter how big these boxes are, but these boxes should be about the same size because these two are going to connect and these two are going to connect. And these are my percents and these are my numbers. So this is always 100%. So let's look at this. I want to save $75. That's my total. My total number is $75. So this is how much I want to save. This is my total. This is my total to save. And so I have saved 60%. What is 60% of my goal? So I'm going to say 60% is, that's how much I've saved so far. When I say it's like, and 40% is how much I have left. And how did I get that 40%? That the 40% is just 600 minus 60%, because these have to add 60 plus 40 must equal 100, right? 100%, that's my whole goal. This number here connects to this number. Okay. Now the question is I don't know how much this is, and I don't know how much this is. But each one of these has a part equals percent times whole equation. So let's call this X, and we can call this over here Y. They're not the same. I can't call them both X because they're not the same amount. So here I have a part. This is my part 1. And this is my part 2. This is my save so far, and this is my amount left. So my part X is equal to, right here, 60% times my whole. I have an equation right here, and I have another equation right here. So let's write those. Just one of those equations is all we really need, and you'll see why in a second. So my part equals my percent as a decimal, 0.6. 60 is 0.6. Make sure you know how to do that, times my whole. And if I do this on my calculator, I type in 0.6 times 75, I get 45. So I'm going to write in $45. And so the amount left has to be 75 minus 45. So that's got to be, and you can do that in your head, and you can come up with $30. You could have done it the other way, and you could have said, well, the part is equal to the percent times the whole. You type that into your calculator, and you get the part equals 30. So you could have got it that way. So either 75 minus 45 equals 30, or 40% of 75. And so now we have the whole picture. If I save 60%, I save 45, I have $30 left to save, and that will be my $75 goal. Pretty cool. I want you to know how to build these things. Let's do one more example, and then we'll be done with this video. Very powerful stuff. Very powerful. And I'll just erase the whole thing and rebuild the whole chart so you can follow along. I encourage you actually to try this next one on your own before I give you the answer. If you just sit here and watch these videos, they all seem so easy. But you need to put pen to paper and solve on your own, and then that builds mastery. So let's look at this one. Joe has built 6 rockets. He has completed these 6 rockets is what he's completed. He has completed 20% of the rocket building project. How many does he have left to build? Okay, so let's look at that. We have a whole, which I don't think we know the whole. These are our numbers. Okay, you should try and do this. Make sure you try and do this and pause the video before you come back. I can't know if you do that, but I'm encouraging you to do that. And I'm just trying to draw. Okay, so I assume you've done it, and I assume you've solved it. I'm assuming you have the answer, and you're just waiting to make sure you got it right. In fact, you probably already know that you got it right. But so just if you've got it right, you're sure you got it right, just fast forward all this, go right to the end, and make sure you got your numbers right. And then you'll be done. Okay, so what do we know? Let's see. So these connect, and these connect. And this is really the built so far. And he's what has he got? He's got some amount that he's built so far and some amount that he's got left, and that equals the whole. Well, this is the total rockets, and we don't know what the total rockets are. But we do know that this is built so far, and this is how many he has left. And we don't know how many, well, yeah, let's see. He has built 6 rockets, so we do know that number. So we'll put a 6 in here. And we know that that's 20%. We don't know how many total rockets or how many left, or we do know that what's left is 80%. We do know that because 20 plus 80 has to equal 100. So let's see. We have a part equals percent times whole problem. We have 2 of them. We have one over here on the left, and we have one over here on the right. Well, the right one, there's 2 things we don't know, so we can't use that one yet. So let's see. Part equals percent times whole. So part is 6 equals percent as decimal times the whole. Wow, cool. We almost got this solved. We're going to divide both things by 0.2. Divided by 0.2. Should be able to do this in your head, but if you can't do it in your head, you can say, x is equal to 30. So that's our whole, 30. 30 rockets. So now we can do 2 ways to find out what's left. The easy way is just to say, well, 6 built so far, and what's left, it's got to equal 30. So this is 24. But if you like to do part equals percent times whole, you could have said, well, part equals percent, 0.8 times whole, 30 equals 24. So you could have done that. Either way, you get to 24. How many rockets does he have left to build? He has 24 rockets left to build. Happy cat. Happy cat is purring loudly because he has a neat system. He's so happy he's standing on his head. He can see this cool system over here that he can use to solve a lot of these tricky problems. Here, let's just switch the color. Know this. All righty. What do we got here? We got me back again. We got lesson 2, 1, 2, part B done. Our sound effects aren't working right now. I'm not sure. There we go. I didn't know what was going on. Oh, this is crazy. All right, I'll see you in class.